And the strength is broad-based. We saw very good growth across the businesses in imaging, in diagnostics, in variant, and in advanced therapies. So also the base business. In diagnostics, it was obviously helped by the strongest quarter on antigen test sales, which ended up in a 16% growth on the revenue line and in almost 20% growth on equipment orders. Broad-based growth. And that also led us to raise our outlook, as you already said, again. And now we raised it by 2.5 percentage points. And we also saw accordingly a raise on the EPS side, not to the full extent of the top line due to the fact that we are also facing some headwinds on the cost side from the well-known supply chain issue.
Yeah, let's just dig into that for a little bit here, because can you give us some interpretation as to whether these supply chain challenges and the costs are going up, going down, whether they'll be here for somewhat longer than you anticipated? Characterize for us the challenge on this particular issue.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, first of all, I would say we are managing the situation very well. We have almost no impact on the top line due to supply chain issues, only very, very minor things. On the cost side, we are facing obviously the same pressures as the whole industry. It comes from higher spot pricing of rare material and parts on the one hand, and obviously on a very, very tight logistic regime across the globe. Very difficult to say how long will that last. Normally shortages are cyclical, so I would say they are transition in nature, and this holds true for both aspects, parts, materials, as well as logistics. Time-wise, very difficult to predict because of all the ongoing geopolitical and global challenges. And just to name another topic, when the situation and the way China deals with the pandemic is also not helping in this regard.
Jochen, just on that then, what's China doing wrong?
I'm not saying that China is doing anything wrong. I just say how they do it. When they lock down complete regions and parts of their country, including the infrastructure, this puts the burden on your business in the country, in that respective region, into the logistic change, and that is something which is very difficult to predict how long will that last, and what impact it will be having.
But the Chinese went into this way before everyone else, and they still seem to be at the depths of this crisis, way after a lot of Western nations have found a way to live with COVID. Jochen, they're obviously doing something wrong.
You won't hear me saying that China's doing something wrong because I'm not a politician, But I would say they do it like they do it, and they will hopefully also see relatively quickly that the current mutations of the virus are not as severe as they were in the beginning, and that you might be in the position to deal with the situation differently, but it's obviously their decision.
Okay, let me just come back to what's going on in Europe as well. You obviously get supply potentially from Russia, whether it's energy or raw material. You have customers in Russia. Have you successfully cut Russia out of both your supply chain and indeed as a customer?
I mean, first of all, the Russian business is a very, very small part of our business. We talk about less than a percentage point of revenue, for example, in a year. We don't have any major supply out of Russia. Obviously, our value-add structure is also a bit dependent on natural gas, for example, but not to a full extent or a large extent. We are not an energy-intensive business at all. Therefore, I think the direct impact on our business from the war in the Ukraine is limited. What it will do to drive the geopolitical situation and change it going forward, and what the implication of this will be, we will see this in the future. But short term, not a major impact.